Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to sift through stacks of information and pull out the real nuggets of knowledge for you.
And today we're diving into something huge, uh, a really transformative shift happening in global commerce.
That's right. We're taking a deep dive into the fascinating world of business to business e-commerce, or B2B. We've got some recent insights showing just extraordinary growth.
Hmm.
So our mission today is really to unpack the incredible scale of this market.
Understand just how fast it's expanding.
Exactly. And explore what these big numbers actually mean for the future of global trade.
Right.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The global B2B e-commerce market isn't just, growing a bit, it's absolutely surging.
It really is.
We're talking about a market that was valued, around $13.5 trillion back in 2021?
Yeah, about that.
And it's set to nearly double
Yeah.
to over $26 trillion by 2025. That pace is just astonishing.
And what's fascinating here, if we kind of zoom out, look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
This isn't just a short-term thing.
No.
Projections show it soaring to an incredible $101 trillion
Wow.
by 2033. And that's growing at a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of over 18% every year.
Over 18%.
Yeah. So this isn't simply a trend. It feels more like a foundational shift, really reshaping how businesses connect and trade globally.
It signals a move towards more integrated, efficient, maybe borderless digital supply chains?
Exactly. Highly integrated, efficient, borderless. That's the direction.
Okay, here's where I think it gets really interesting. We're going to navigate this growth region by region, not just throwing out raw numbers, but highlighting maybe some surprising pace setters and the forces underneath it all, driving this huge digital revolution.
That was good. Let's do it. Regional deep dive. The global landscape of B2B e-commerce.
All right, let's start our regional journey in North America, definitely a powerhouse in this market.
Absolutely. A major contributor.
The region accounted for over $5.5 trillion in 2021.
Right.
And it's on track to pretty much double that, hitting more than $10.6 trillion by 2025.
And that consistent growth, it's projected to keep going, reaching over $39 trillion by 2033,
$39 trillion.
with a really robust CAGR, nearly 18%. So what does that imply? It suggests, a significant level of digital maturity among businesses there.
Okay, so they're not just playing around with it.
No, exactly. It suggests companies aren't just like dabbling in e-commerce, they're integrating it deep into their core operations.
Looking for those efficiency gains, expanded reach.
Yes, and investing heavily in the digital infrastructure needed to support it all.
Right. And if we dive into specifics, the U.S. obviously leads the charge, projected to hit over $31.5 trillion by 2033. But what's kind of notable to me is Canada. It starts from a smaller base, sure, but it shows an even more impressive growth path.
That's right. Poised to reach over $5 trillion by 2033. That's a strong CAGR.
And Mexico, too, showing consistent growth, moving towards, $2.7 trillion by 2033?
Yeah. These aren't just figures, are they?
Yeah.
They represent a real fundamental shift in how businesses in these economies are actually doing business, how they're transacting.
Definitely. Okay, let's shift across the Atlantic. Europe, also showing considerable momentum here. Significant momentum.
Revenue growing from nearly $3 trillion in 2021
Yep.
to over $5.5 trillion in 2025, and then climbing up to more than $20.5 trillion by 2033.
And Germany in particular really emerges as a key driver over there.
Interesting.
Its B2B e-commerce market is just surging from around $575 billion in 2021
Okay.
to over $4.3 trillion projected by 2033.
Wow.
Which raises a crucial point, doesn't it, about how these established European economies are, rapidly adopting digital trade.
So we're seeing it in places like the industrial sector, manufacturing.
Exactly. Those traditional B2B relationships are now sort of seamlessly integrating digital platforms for procurement, for sales.
Right. If the UK is following suit. Yes, the UK follows suit. It's market boosting from over $350 billion to more than $2.6 trillion by 2033. Solid growth there, too.
And we're seeing other strong performers, too, right? France, Italy, Spain.
Yeah.
All showing CAGRs well over 17%.
That's right. France, Italy, Spain. It's clear that this digital transformation is really sweeping across the continent.
Okay, now, prepare for a jaw-dropping jump, as I said before. Asia-Pacific.
Hi.
Undeniably the fastest-growing region globally for B2B e-commerce.
No question.
It's going from just over $3 trillion in 2021
Mm-hmm.
to nearly $6.3 trillion in 2025. Okay, that's fast. But then it skyrockets. almost $26 trillion by 2033,
26 trillion.
at an incredible CAGR of over 19%.
And what's truly fascinating here is China. China alone is forecasted to reach over $7.2 trillion by 2033.
Just China.
Just China, up from less than $850 billion in 2021. Just astonishing growth.
That's mind-boggling.
But then you look at India, one of the most dynamic markets, truly standing out. It shows the highest GVR in the region, over 20%.
20% CI for India.
Yeah. Projected to grow from under $400 billion in 2021 to more than $3.7 trillion by 2033.
So what's driving that? That highlights the immense potential, the rapid digitization.
It does, and is fueled by things like, well, mobile-first adoption, huge consumer bases translating into business activity, and that burgeoning digital infrastructure across these economies.
Makes sense. And there are other important players in Asia-Pacific, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Japan's significant nearly $4.8 trillion expected by 2033.
Okay.
South Korea, over $1.7 trillion. And Singapore, another real growth hotspot, reaching over $630 billion by 2033.
It really is a vibrant digital landscape over there.
Truly.
Okay, heading south now. South America also experiencing pretty robust digital transformation.
Yes, strong growth there, too.
The total market is set to rise from around $930 billion in 2021 to over $1.8 trillion in 2025, and then reaching over $7.2 trillion by 2033. Still a compelling CAGR over 18.5%.
And Brazil leads the charge there, expanding from about $350 billion in 2021 to over $2.7 trillion by 2033.
So what are the drivers in Latin America? Is it similar dynamics?
Largely, yes. It includes, increasing internet penetration, which is key, a growing young tech-savvy population, and importantly, a readiness among businesses to sort of leapfrog maybe older distribution models and go straight into digital ones.
Interesting. Bypassing legacy systems.
Kind of, yeah. And Argentina and Chile are also notable, both growing at over 18.8% CAGR. So it indicates a real region-wide embrace of digital commerce.
Okay. What about the Middle East, often seen as rapidly digitizing?
And it's not far behind here either. The market's growing from around $717 billion in 2021 to over $1.4 trillion in 2025, and reaching nearly $5.5 trillion by 2033. Again, a strong CAGR, almost 18.5%.
So who are the leaders there?
What was particularly striking is how countries like Saudi Arabia and the UAE are rapidly emerging as really important digital commerce hubs.
Okay.
Saudi Arabia projected to increase from about $172 billion to over $1.3 trillion by 2033.
Wow.
And the UAE is set to reach over $1 trillion.
And this is driven by?
Often by, well, ambitious national digital transformation agendas. You see significant government investment in e-commerce infrastructure.
Right, making them key players.
Exactly, key players in the global B2B landscape. And we're also seeing Turkey and Qatar emerge with strong growth, too, showing that the adoption is spreading quite diversely across the region.
Okay, finally, let's look at Africa, often talked about in terms of potential.
And it presents promising potential here, too. The B2B e-commerce market is growing from around $365 billion in 2021 to over $760 billion by 2025, and then a remarkable $2.8 trillion projected by 2033. Still a solid CAGR near 17.7%.
And South Africa leads the way?
South Africa leads, projected to reach over $1.2 trillion by 2033.
And what's supporting that growth across the continent?
Well, this surge is significantly supported by, again, growing internet penetration. That's fundamental.
Right.
And the expansion of digital infrastructure across the continent, allowing businesses to, bypass some traditional trade barriers.
Makes sense. Using digital to overcome physical constraints.
Exactly. And we're seeing strong growth from Nigeria and also the wider rest of Africa region.
Yeah.
It really indicates a foundational shift in how business is conducted.
With many embracing mobile-first solutions, I imagine.
Yes, very much so. Mobile first is key for B2B transactions in many parts of Africa. So, what does this all mean?
Phew. Okay. That was a whirlwind tour. So let's boil it down. What does this all mean for you listening, whether you're tracking market trends, thinking about business strategy, or maybe just curious about these huge forces shaping our world?
Well, if we connect this all back to that bigger picture we started with, the massive transformation happening across every single region we looked at, it clearly demonstrates that B2B e-commerce, it's no longer just like an emerging segment.
Yeah, it's mainstream.
It's truly an unstoppable force. It's reshaping the future of global trade right now.
And this explosion really highlights those core factors we touched on, rapid digitization.
Yep. The ease of cross-border expansion that online platforms enable, and the increasing sophistication of procurement automation. All these things are making this market one of the most crucial components of modern business ecosystems.
Businesses are streamlining everything, aren't they? From the
Yeah,
first inquiry to payment and delivery, all digital.
pretty much the entire purchasing and sales process, yeah. Moving on to digital channels.
So this deep dive has really shown us B2B e-commerce is just this powerhouse of growth. It's transforming how businesses interact, how they trade right across the globe,
Mm.
from North America's sort of consistent, mature performance
Right.
to Asia Pacific's absolutely skyrocketing rise, often driven by that mobile-first innovation we talked about.
Yep.
The numbers, they just speak volumes, don't they, about a truly digital future that honestly feels like it's already here.
It does feel that way.
Yeah.
And perhaps this raises an important question for you, the listener, to consider. As B2B e-commerce continues this incredibly rapid ascent, how might it fundamentally alter the very nature of, say, traditional sales forces, or even supply chain management as we know it in the coming decade?
Good question.
And thinking beyond that, what entirely new innovations might emerge, things we haven't even thought of yet to support, maybe even accelerate this unprecedented scale, something to ponder.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to getting well informed. We cut through the noise, straight to the core insights. Today, we are plunging into the business-to-business e-commerce market. B2B, right. I sometimes think of it as the digital backbone of global trade. And it's an area going through this massive, often kind of hidden transformation.
Exactly. And our job today really is to pull out the most vital bits from all the market research out there. Cut through the jargon, find those key takeaways so you can get a real handle on how businesses are actually buying and selling from each other now.
Yeah, because it's more than just putting catalogs online, isn't it? It feels like a fundamental rethink. Procurement, supply chains, even how companies relate to each other. So yeah, get ready. Some of these shifts might genuinely surprise you. Okay, so let's dig right in. What's really putting the foot on the accelerator here? This big push towards digital B2B. We see it happening, but what are the forces underneath it all?
Well, I'd say the biggest force, hands down, is this huge wave of digital transformation within companies themselves. And we're talking way beyond just, having a website. It's about strategically optimizing the entire way they buy things, moving from old school manual processes, stacks of paper maybe, to these slick, integrated digital platforms. Think of it like swapping out an old Rolodex for, I don't know, a fully automated, maybe even AI-driven control center.
Right, so it's not just let's do this online because it's easier. It's deeper, more strategic. How do these platforms actually enable that optimization?
Precisely. These modern B2B platforms, they act like these central hubs, almost like an intelligence center. They smooth out everything, finding suppliers, checking them out, managing orders, automatically handling payments, the whole 9 yards. And the payoff? Well, it's huge. You see a big drop in manual errors that alone can cut procurement costs significantly, maybe 15–20% in some big firms. And everything just moves faster. It's becoming, frankly, essential in sectors like manufacturing, retail, wholesale, logistics, anywhere complex operations are involved.
That cost sharing is a big hook. Okay, another driver you hear about, and this really shows the difference from, say, Amazon for consumers, is this rising demand for cost-effective bulk purchasing. How do platforms help businesses buying huge amounts?
Yeah, that's where B2B e-commerce really flexes its muscles. It's totally different from you or me buying one thing. B2B buyers, they're negotiating large quantities, right? Often needing specific customizations, delivery schedules, and always looking for the best price. So these platforms now let them compare prices dynamically in real time. They can manage really complex bulk orders, tiered pricing, you name it. Some even have tools for contract negotiation built right in. This helps companies manage their inventory better, keep procurement budgets in check, which is, super critical in industries like construction, automotive, healthcare supplies. Big capital involved there.
And then there's the sort of unsung hero in all this, the foundation that built the trust. I mean, the logistics and the payment systems. How have they changed to make businesses actually prefer buying online?
Oh, it's been completely transformative, honestly. We've gone way past just basic online checkouts. Now you've got highly secure integrated financial systems. They can offer flexible payment terms, lines of credit, handle multiple currencies. It's sophisticated stuff. And on the logistics side, think advanced order tracking, like real-time GPS, even predictions on delivery times. Plus, these really robust, varied last-mile delivery networks. It means businesses now get faster, much more predictable deliveries, clear shipping costs up front. All this maturity, this reliability, it's really made digital procurement a solid choice for global trade. It connects buyers and suppliers who maybe never would have found each other before.
Okay, but growth like this always comes with challenges, doesn't it? Growing pains. What are the main hurdles the B2B e-commerce market is facing right now?
You're absolutely right. It's definitely not all smooth sailing yet. A major one is just how complex B2B buying actually is. It's a world away from the simple add a cart we're used to as consumers. B2B deals often involve these complex approval steps, multiple people signing off. Then you've got custom pricing, different prices for different customers based on volume or relationships, specific industry rules, compliance stuff, and the invoicing. Oh boy. It can be incredibly detailed, dozens of lines, unique codes.
So, much less like a quick purchase, more like managing a mini project or a complex agreement each time. How does that make things tricky for standard e-commerce platforms?
Exactly. Your average off-the-shelf e-commerce solution just isn't built for that level of complexity, that nuance. For big companies especially, they often have these really specific custom deals already in place, long negotiation cycles. Trying to force those complex processes onto a generic platform, it can be, well, really difficult. Sometimes it even makes things worse. It needs a level of customization, deep integration that many platforms just don't offer easily.
And then there's the human side of it. You still see some hesitation, right? Especially with maybe more traditional companies or businesses in regions where digital isn't as widespread. What's holding them back?
Yeah, that's a really significant barrier still. Sometimes it's just, comfort with the old ways, the manual processes they've always used. But there are other factors too. Limited digital skills in parts of the workforce, a very real and understandable fear of online fraud, sometimes even a cultural resistance to automating jobs people used to do. And for smaller businesses, SMEs, often it's the initial cost of getting the right tech setup, or maybe just lacking the confidence to dive into these online procurement systems, getting these businesses on board, trained up. It's a huge task.
And the final big challenge, one that I think touches pretty much every business today, data security.
Right.
And also getting these new systems to talk to the old ones, the integration part. How do companies square the benefits with the risks of putting sensitive data online?
That's the tightrope walk, isn't it? There are absolutely legitimate worries about cybersecurity. You're potentially sharing sensitive stuff, pricing structures, customer lists, supply chain details. That needs serious protection. And then there's a technical side. Integrating a shiny new e-commerce platform with the company's existing systems, maybe an older ERP or their CRM, that can be incredibly complex and expensive. If that integration isn't seamless, you risk data getting siloed, workflows getting messed up, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of going digital for efficiency, right? So yeah, that can make even the best new systems seem less attractive if the integration hurdle is too high.
Okay, now for the exciting part, looking ahead. Beyond the problems, what are the really interesting trends shaping what B2B e-commerce will look like next? Where is it all going?
Yeah, this is where things get really dynamic. One massive trend is the rise of self-service portals, powered up by smart, AI-driven recommendations. B2B buyers, they're consumers too, right? They use slick apps in their personal lives, and now they expect that same easy, personalized experience at work. They want quick access to catalogs, smart suggestions, easy reordering.
So the AI acts almost like a super smart assistant for the buyer, knowing what they need, maybe even before they do.
Precisely. These AI platforms are getting incredibly good at that. They learn from past buys, sure, but also from wider market trends. They can give instant access to huge catalogs, filter them intelligently, offer really personalized product recommendations. Sometimes they can even automate reorders based on predicted needs or inventory levels. Imagine it suggesting, I don't know, a specific component for your factory line, not just because you bought it before, but because it's found a newer, maybe more efficient alternative that fits your usage history. It saves time for everyone and gives buyers this amazing speed and control.
That sounds incredibly powerful. Okay, what's the second big shift you're seeing?
It's the move towards mobile-optimized and true omnichannel experiences.
Yeah.
Think about it. Procurement folks aren't chained to their desks anymore. They're working across different devices, desktops, laptops, phones, tablets. They're interacting through various channels, email, the platform itself, maybe even messaging apps.
Right, so the experience needs to be smooth, absolutely consistent, no matter how or where they're engaging.
Exactly. Companies are putting serious money into making their platforms responsive or mobile first. It has to work perfectly on a phone. But it's more than just a good mobile site. It's about a whole omni-channel strategy. The brand, the information, the process, it all needs to feel connected. Whether you start a quote on your laptop, approve it via email on your phone, and then track the delivery using an app. It's about meeting the buyer wherever they happen to be seamlessly.
And the final trend, one I find really interesting, is this growth in niche or vertical specific marketplaces. Sounds like moving away from the giant one-stop shop idea.
It absolutely is. Instead of these huge platforms trying to sell everything to everyone, you're seeing marketplaces pop up that focus very, very specifically, maybe just for agriculture, or highly specialized industrial parts, certain types of medical supplies, chemicals even. They offer catalogs tailored precisely to that industry. They build in the specific compliance tools needed. The workflows match how that sector actually operates, and this really clicks with buyers in those specific fields. This verticalization lets sellers penetrate those markets much more deeply, build real trust, and serve segments that maybe felt a bit lost on the bigger, more generic platforms.
Hmm.
It's all about precision, deep expertise, and specialized value.
So, wrapping this up, it's crystal clear, isn't it? The B2B e-commerce world is undergoing this truly profound shift. Digital tools, changing expectations, smart tech. It's not just tweaking how businesses buy and sell. It feels like it's reshaping the bedrock of global commerce itself.
Couldn't agree more. The future here is definitely online. It's automated, it's intelligent, no doubt about it. And as we always try to emphasize, knowing this stuff is great, but the real value comes when you can actually understand it and apply it.
Absolutely. Which leaves us with a thought to chew on. As businesses keep adapting to this digital shift, what totally new ideas or tech might pop up to finally crack those remaining challenges we talked about? And maybe even more profoundly, how might all these changes completely redefine what we even mean by a supplier-buyer relationship 5 or 10 years down the road? Something to think about. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive today. Stay curious, everyone, and stay informed.